Now, for more on the crisis in Lebanon, we welcome Middle East economic expert Michael Szanto, and he joins us from Miami. Michael, thank you so much for your time on this day. Now, it's exactly a year since that devastating blast. Of course, the economic situation we all know is dire. Uncertainty on the political side too. Give us a sense to start of where things stand right now for the country from an economic perspective.
It's entirely like an economic catastrophe that has been growing and growing. And the explosion, as huge as it is only part of the story. You have a banking failure, you have an economic failure, and it can only be described as a result of an entire country being hijacked by a crazy terrorist organization, Hezbollah. But the economy is completely dysfunctional. The people of Lebanon face the virtual starvation. It's one of the worst economic disasters we've seen in the last 100 or 200 years. It's really horrific.
It certainly is a very worrying situation unfolding there. And of course, we just heard there major financial aid being injected into Lebanon. We heard about these pledges during that UN-backed conference headed by France, $100 million from the US, and then France giving 100 million euros in total, $370 million. It sounds like a lot of money, but Michael, is this financial aid enough? And what can the Lebanese government do to make sure it all lands up in the right hands as such?
It's not going to be enough to start, but it's not going to be enough. But as President Biden said, the Lebanese government has to clean up its act. And, his remarks were guarded. It cannot be seen in isolation from the fact that a big component of the political establishment, which is the Shiite part, Hezbollah, is waging war against the major economic benefactors of Lebanon. And those are the United States, France, and Saudi Arabia. And it's crazy. And just today, the Saudi foreign minister alluded to that. You cannot separate out the politics, because to have a healthy economy, the foundation is a strong political, legal, and social base. This is one thing that kind of failed us in Russia. You can't have successful capitalism if you don't have the underlying structures, legal, political, and economic, and legal. And we have extremists who hijack the whole country, and it's very divided. It's not just corruption. I mean, and frankly, as horrible as corruption is, you can have a semi-functional country if it's semi-corrupt, but they don't have a functioning economy at all, basically, at this point in time.
So given exactly what you're saying, no functioning economy right now, where does one start? What are the concrete steps that can be taken at the moment to just try and get started to get the country back onto its feet economically at this stage?
And the aid that's coming from the United States, the French, hopefully the Saudis are a big step. And the United States in particular has a lot of experience in this. We've rebuilt the European countries after World War II. We helped the Bosnians. We rebuilt Japan. We helped the South Koreans even in some ways. We have a lot of experience. But the United States and French have been supporting Lebanon since the 1950s, if not earlier. It's not like we're newcomers here. It's not like we've tried. Things are going in the wrong direction. And I have to remind, even though we're talking about economics, Hezbollah was bombing Lebanese banks in 2016. Lebanese banks. And they're part of the government, bombing their own banks. So that is and it's not the only country we see sometimes elements within the society turn destructive. But it's reached the bottom, and hopefully it's starting to reverse itself.
Well, we certainly appreciate your insight. It is a dire situation. One can only hope that things do try and get back to some semblance of normal. Michael Szanto, thank you as always. Appreciate your insight. Back in a bit. Stay tuned.